You're listening to Out of the Box, a place for marketers to get inspired, get going, and break out of the box.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Jess Overton, and you're listening to Out of the Box, the marketing podcast exploring out-of-the-box approaches to marketing and growth. Today, I'm joined by Jean-François Grang, co-founder and chief product officer at Purchasely. Purchasely is a SaaS platform helping marketers manage and increase their in-app purchases and subscriptions. According to Sifted, the FT-backed news website covering European startups, Purchasely is one of the 70 fastest-growing no-code companies. And it seems like a good time to unpack what they do, learn why subscriptions are all the rage, and share some of their strategies for app growth. Jean-François, I'd like to start by hearing a little bit about your journey in the mobile app world.
Hi, Jess. Thanks for having me on this podcast. I'm thrilled to be exchanging with your audience on subscriptions and a little bit on Purchasely. And this is a journey that started for me quite a while ago. It's good that you don't have video in podcast because I have so many white hairs right now. I've been developing apps for 12 years. I was among the very first 500 on the developer program of the iPhone SDK, so the beta developer program. I joined in April 2008, so it was really the very early days of the iPhone and the very first developers, and never stopped developing apps since then. I had a journey mainly building apps for others in agencies before building my own agency. That was called App AZ. We received the 6 App of the Year awards for many different apps. And during that journey, there was one topic that I always struggled implementing, which was subscriptions and in-app purchases. And so during that amazing journey building apps, there was one topic that always were complicated, which was building in-app subscriptions or handling in-app purchases. It's always complicating for developers because the stack is complicated. It's different between iOS and Android. It takes always more time than you would be expecting to, and at the end you finish by releasing a barely working version that no one is really happy about. The project manager, you blew the roadmap of the project manager. The marketers, they don't have all the features. The developers are quite afraid touching a bit because they don't want to make the company lose money or making a bug in the paywalls, etc. And so each time I had to face that, it was always that nightmare. And I thought that it could be transformed into something that was bringing more value and peace to all the teams. In-app subscriptions, in fact, touches a lot of people in the company. As we've said, the developers, of course, the marketers, the product managers. Usually, the head of the company is also interested because it drives the conversion and money, and also the accountants. And we took all the ideas we had on these different personas to build Purchasely, which is a solution that actually helps not only the developers, marketers, product managers, so that in-app subscription becomes something that is great to handle with, and not the thing that you hide in your application and that nobody wants to think about.
Well, it's certainly a very important part of any, or I guess I shouldn't say any application's business model, but certainly apps that have in-app purchases or subscriptions as part of their business model. Do you see any particular successes in specific verticals? What kind of apps is Purchasely really aiming to help?
We have so many different companies that are using Purchasely, different kind of companies that are using Purchasely right now, that I couldn't say that it's helping more this company or this company, but it's more like how the market is moving to subscription right now. And what we can see is that a lot of video applications, video services are moving to subscriptions if they weren't already using subscriptions. Music industry has moved to subscriptions also, and newspapers, dating apps. So a lot of different verticals are choosing subscriptions. Right now, Purchasely is great for video apps because we handle Apple TV, Android TV subscriptions, Amazon App Store also, and Huawei App Gallery also. So we are able to broadcast and make services paid on the smartphone, tablet, and TVs, which is unique to Purchasely. But there are also some apps that were really surprised by what happened with ATT and how the advertising industry had to face this deal, and that had to make a switch and quick switch to other revenue streams, which were subscription for most of them. And I'm thinking of newspapers. Right now in France, I think we have 25 or over 25% of the newspapers in France, and they were all moving pretty fast to subscription using Purchasely. Because they had to face that pressure on their advertising inventories, and they moved to subscription. They moved back to subscription because it was their original business model
Right.
20 years ago. But they in a very different and more digital era. So I think that this is one of our biggest customer right now because all the industry will have moved to subscription. I think in the next 6 months. And it started over a year ago. For those who had made the switch during the pandemic, it was amazing. We are working with Le Monde, for example, who had amazing conversion rates during the pandemic. I think they almost doubled the number of subscribers with great retention figures during the pandemic. So these are video, dating, news apps are big apps for us. Alongside with some coaching apps, etc., fitness apps.
Interesting. I can certainly understand that the advertising revenue or the threat of increased privacy, decreasing advertising revenue for newspaper or news apps is certainly a big driver for subscriptions, or the subscription model rather. Are there other factors at play here that are driving more and more apps towards the subscription model?
Well, I think that it's always a chicken and egg question. You cannot push on a new business model or new way to make business with your customers if your customers are not willing to take that step. And I think that we cannot ignore the fact that companies like Netflix, like Spotify, Dropbox, etc., educated the market on subscriptions and why you should be using subscriptions. And I think most of us started this digital subscription with these kind of actors. So I think there is also a maturity of the market that is happening right now, that our people are used to be using subscription or subscribing to services, to quality services. So I think this is the reason why, alongside with what you've just said around ATT, around the fact that ad is not as profitable as it used to be. And so, that's both of these what can I say?
Factors. Perhaps both of these factors are contributing to the switch to subscription models.
Exactly.
I wanna loop back there. You said that Le Monde had, which is a French news outlet for those of our listeners who are unfamiliar. Le Monde had implemented a very successful subscription strategy throughout the pandemic. So I want to sort of flip that around and ask you not what a successful strategy looks like, because I think we'll get to that shortly, but what the challenges are in implementing a successful subscription-based app.
Well, there are many challenges that every editor is facing, and a lot of questions that every app maker is facing when going to subscription. Well, of course, as we've said, building the tech is complicated, but that's not the unique the unique pain point. Of course, the first question that everyone asks, especially when you don't have any reference, is finding the right price. And often finding the right price in the right market, because price can be different on different stores and different countries. If you have a freemium application, so not a premium only application, the question between which feature are free, which feature are paid is also something that you have to deal with, because when you give too much things in free, you won't convert in pay, but the other way around will lead to killing potential leads that would love your application and finish by purchasing at some point. And for everyone, well, it's really important to be able to test prices, test a package composition, maybe try to split the offer and the packages, and also test different sales pitch to make people convert are really key to success.
So really, just like any good marketing strategy, the strategy there is to A/B test, right? To A/B test different components of parts that are free, parts that are paid, and then also to A/B test pricing.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
A/B test, as the App Store are really global. You can go global, 150 countries, over 200 different payment methods, etc. are covered. So you go global directly. So you should be thinking global. You should be thinking how basically how your journey in the application applies to different population, to different countries, to different personas, and you should be thinking that also in the way that you monetize your services. That can really, people are really different in the world, and if you're making a dating app, the way that people are dating in France, in Europe, in northern or southern Europe, in the US, in Southern America, in Africa, in Asia, all these people are really different, and it's very easy to understand that the way the composition of your services and the way that you sell these services should be very different in order to be more successful. So it's not only about A/B testing; it's also about segmenting your population, about testing different segments, about understanding these segments. Is really important, and after you can A/B test. But first of all, making assumption on I'm trying to sell that service to a 18, 25-year-old person. I'm trying a different approach. Is it working better than the previous one? Then you can A/B test also. But segmentation is, I believe, even more important than A/B test.
And when you're actually looking at segmentation and how you apply a paywall or a subscription, and I guess perhaps a paywall is more relevant to at least the question that I'm thinking of, is A/B testing or segmentation in that respect. Are you actually giving a different experience? That's to say that the paywall is actually at a different place. You might offer more freemium features to a certain segment and fewer to a different segment, or are you more segmenting and tailoring the actual content of the paywall or the actual look and feel of the paywall? How does that work?
I'd say we can do both, and we should do both. Let's have an example. Let's say that I'm Duolingo, for example. So I'm trying to learn French. I'm English. I'm trying to learn French. Depending on if I'm 18-year-old, willing to spend 5 minutes learning French for its next exam, or if I'm a 45, 55, willing to spend an hour a day learning French for business, you can understand that these populations don't really have the same needs. So first of all, the easy thing is that you shouldn't offer the same duration or the same first commitment. For example, the 45-55, you want to engage him on a 6 months, maybe 1 year contract, because you know that he has a learning curve that is really different from an 18, and also the 18 only wants to pass his exam that is going on in 2 months. So you might offer different period, but if you also have different service levels, for example, I have a starter kit, I have a premium kit, you can also advertise and choose which you want to advertise on your paywall. So I'd say it's really both of them. It's finding designing your packages in order to fit all these personas, and offer the packages and show the packages that you think are the most interesting to your current user in your app. And this is totally doable using Purchasely, for example, as you can pass to the SDK many variables that are used to segment the overall experience. And it's not only on the paywall; it should be on all the experience. And you see more and more of these application coaching, when you want to learn a new language, all these applications are gathering a lot of information on the very first launch. What are your goals, what do you want to do, how much time are you willing to spend, etc. We see all these questions in onboardings every day for every kind of apps, but they are really not used right now for personalizing the paywalls, maybe a little bit for the initial experience, and they should really be used for such a goal, because it's really great, and it helps improving conversion, initial conversion, and long-term retention too.
It's interesting that you say that companies aren't using that data for that purpose, because it seems like such a clear value add and such a clear use of that data that you'd be crazy not to use it. What do you see these companies using that data for then?
Yeah, usually if you have a fitness application, for example, they will be using it first of all to give you a sense of to make you think that you have something that is personalized. And sometimes you can set different inputs but go to the same result, but you have the feeling that it's a
Gotcha.
program that was built just for you. Some of them are conscious enough to build a very specific experience and bring you and send you a specific content that actually fits your needs. And so they are more, these data are used to personalize basically the product, but not the paywall. And this is really such a shame. I was thinking about we were under lockdown in France several times, and during the second lockdown, which is more, we could move into the city, but just for work, etc. I remember that I passed along the what we call the Grand Magasin, so the Printemps, etc. in Paris, and they were changing their storefronts, even though that people couldn't come in. And it's a shame, because in any apps that you launch today, you can launch it in 2 years, and maybe they won't even have changed the paywall. They don't even customize the experience. And it's the space where you know the customer. It's easy because it's digital, so you should be able to send different way of selling, send different marketing pitch, and different prices, etc. But we actually never move these screens while we are on a digital era that allows such a thing.
Fascinating, because it's such an important part of the business. I mean, it is for some apps certainly, and apps that are now relying more heavily on this revenue stream. That is the business, right? They're without subscriptions, they're not going to be making revenue.
Yeah, and it really comes back to one question: is that because it's difficult to make these paywalls, this really is difficult. First of all, because you never want to break a paywall. You never want to break where the revenue, the place where the revenue comes in. As a developer, former developer, this usually is a spot you don't want to mess with. So there's always resistance in changing these. And then this is also a space with a lot of regulations, because Apple is checking that you are not just advertising the free period without telling how much that the customer is going to pay, etc. So there is a lot of rejection on the paywalls that the customer do, and this is why at Purchasely we chose to have an approach on which, first of all, you didn't have to send a new version to update your paywall. But most importantly, all our paywalls are based on templates that actually make sure that you don't mess up with Apple and Google rules. For example, we enforce the fact that you put the price in every button with a font size that Apple is checking on the font size how the price is displayed compared to the CTA title, etc. So we make sure that you respect all these rules, but we also give you the flexibility to be able to change it remotely without asking a developer to do anything, and without breaking the tracking, without breaking how the paywall works, etc., which is in fact really relieving for the developers and also for the marketers, because now they can launch their campaign within a day with their new partner, etc., which they couldn't do before.
Right. That's very, very, very powerful. Certainly that ability to iterate without the fear of breaking things. I certainly think that companies that are giving services which take care of all of those regulatory hurdles, which are also, of course, a headache that all of us have to deal with and we're always worried about. And if you can take that regulatory issue off the table, which it sounds like you guys have done, then that's such a huge leap forward for end users. I want to talk a little bit about advertising. I mean, we're focused on subscriptions. Certainly, you live and breathe subscriptions, but I want to ask you whether or how you see ads and subscriptions existing alongside each other. Can that happen?
Of course, I think it should and must happen. I'm not thinking that subscriptions should fully take the place of ads or fully take the place of freemium based on ads website. First of all, because I'm a consumer as everyone, and I don't want to have to pay for everything, and I want to subscribe to every service. So we believe that at some point we will have some subscription fatigue, and so we need to still have this kind of to check a news on the website without having to subscribe or try launching a 7 days trial, etc. I think both can exist for such a usage. Especially on newspapers where I want to just have a look at an article and I don't want to have to pay for it, especially as long as there is no like global bundle. And then I think that subscription model is great for a lot of long-term, mid-term usage when you know that your customer is going to get engaged with your service for quite a while. But if you're providing a casual experience, something that's going to be launched 1 or 2 times and then forget, there's a lot of these kind of, for example, in games, a lot of games that you play 2 weeks and then you trash. There's a lot of other websites, can be different services that are really casual services, and you don't want to be subscribed to this kind of website, and advertising is something that can fuel them. At the opposite, subscription were great for services that didn't have the audience to monetize using advertising, but I think that advertising can still be great for other services. So both will be used alongside. We've talked about the newspapers and how they're moving from advertising to subscriptions. These people really have to face something that is complicated, because when people were used not to pay for your services, making them pay is something that is kind of tricky, and that cannot happen successfully within a day. And so there's a lot of strategies that were used, and from what we've seen on the market, the first thing is not to only rely on making content that were free paid, because this is not this is not enough. Of course, augmenting and adding more and more paid content alongside to free content, and raising the percentage of paid content is important. But you should be also thinking about services and what your app can bring besides removing ads and unlocking contents. What can it bring to serve your users? Because it's not only content; it's content and services that people are and consumers are willing to pay for. And so, listening back to your users, all these features that you have that you've been forgetting for years to listen to, and add them to your product is something that will also help them make the switch from not only something that were free before that now is paying, but something which is additional and that is really a plus, should be considered.
Can you give some examples of some of those added value services?
Yeah, there's a lot of added value services. It can be specific content, as we've said. It can also be offline navigation. It can be services for a lot of newspapers has played on games, added other features to prepare to specific exams or something like that. So it really depends on who you are, but sports apps can leverage games, games or different kind of communication, different medias also bring new medias. That really depends on what you are currently selling. But content is not enough, or actually the previous content that you were. So if you're bringing podcasts, if you're bringing new videos, that's okay. But your user shouldn't feel like it's the same as before, but just now you have to pay for.
Right. Well, I think I think that makes perfect sense to me. I think that I do want to understand a little bit more about how an app can then grow their subscription revenue. Let's assume that we've gone through the process of adding some additional value. We've not just slapped on a paywall to our existing content. And I know that in the past you've talked about multiplying the number of user touch points in order to grow subscription revenue. Can you explain what that means? What does it mean to grow the number of user touch points?
That's a good question. Yeah, that's something that we've been seeing in a lot of apps. Is that you start, especially on freemium applications, and you can, if you have freemium applications on your smartphone, so you can launch one of these, and you'll see that if you launch the initial launch, you'll have the paywall that is displayed to you, and you can choose to ignore it. You will be ignoring it, and then you'll be playing with the free features that are inside your app. And well, you always have that resident purchase button or subscribe button somewhere in the navigation, in the settings, and in the navigation bar maybe. But you no longer really you're so used to be seeing that purchase button that you won't see it anymore. It's just like ads on website. You know, that right column on the news website where all the ads were stacked. You don't even see them because your eye is very used to avoid these dead spaces of content. And so, what we believe at Purchasely is that there's a lot of experience inside your product that you could be leveraging to make the user convert to a paid plan. And today, this is something like, if, for example, let's say we are a video application or TV application that we have a lot of content, but let's say that you play a new video, and the video, for example, is not HD or 4K because it's a paid plan. You want to be able to add a button HD 4K, such as you have on YouTube, and when you switch to it, you display a specific paywall advertising that specific need for improving quality. This is an one example, but you could also, let's say that the replay is you want to pay for the replay. You can also have a different paywall with the replay. Why you should be paying for the replay or start over, etc., etc. So it's really about finding the good spot in the experience where the user is already engaged but needs to pay, and provide him with a paywall that explains him what he's going to subscribe for and how much it is, but with the context, not the default paywalls with all the features listed. And then later on, you can activate him on, it's great, you've subscribed. So he has subscribed for having the 4K, for example. You have this and this and this and this services additionally to it. And there is many, many opportunities inside the product in which, if you have a technology that allows you to provide different contextualized paywalls, you could be pushing to the experience in a way that it doesn't feel like the old same advertising that you see over and over again, but a specific advertising that is here for your subscription, actually, that is here for helping you have a better experience and not forcing you to purchase for something. And the perception for the user is very different.
Jean-François, I always try to take at least one piece of concrete advice out of every single one of our episodes and of my conversations, really. And I think what you just said was probably the most powerful, and certainly what I'm going to take from today. Is really creating those touch points with users, and then also coming back and reminding them of the additional value that they've unlocked with the subscription, having gone through all of those touch points in the user experience. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's something.
I want to.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Besides everything that happens in the application, there's a lot of action that actually happen outside the application. Sorry, 1, 2, 3. There's a lot of things that happen actually in the application, as you've mentioned, but there is also a lot of things that happen outside of your application for renewal, for grace period. For example, if we couldn't charge your credit card, or for example, I'm going to your to my iPhone settings and canceling my subscription or upselling my subscription, for example. Or downgrading my subscription. There's a lot of use cases that happen outside of the app that you could be also acting on, and these are also part of the user journey and how you can multiply the touchpoint. Because it's also important to consider that once a subscriber has subscribed, you can always increase its value or increase its lifetime value. So if he wants to churn, maybe offer him a downgrade or the same a discount or whatever, or maybe upsell him. And there are a lot of applications that once you're subscribed, they don't never try to upsell you to an annual plan, to a gold or premium plan. And this is also scenarios that should be considered by every marketer or growth marketer handling subscriptions.
Well, I can certainly speak from experience on that one, having canceled two of my subscriptions in the not too distant past. There's certainly, I imagine, a world of opportunity that they could have prevented me from churning or tried to get me back. Can you perhaps provide one or two best practices for marketers looking to leverage these retention strategies?
Yeah, there are a lot of them. Actually, on if you go to our documentation on docs.purchasely.com, we have a section called events, and you can see we have 35 events. We monitor 35 events that happen outside of the app. So everything that the subscriber is doing with a subscription is tracked, and so you have the ability to act over this because we are connected directly with the stores, and we know in real time when something occurs on the Huawei App Store, the Amazon App Store, the Google Play Store, the App Store. This is the exact same message, and whenever a user converts a trial, doesn't convert a trial, cancels a subscription, enter a billing retry phase, or maybe downgrade or upgrade a subscription, there is something to do. And we have added that section in our documentation, so docs.purchasely.com, the examples of how you could leverage this. And the great thing is that we send all these events to your existing marketing tool. We are connected to over 10, 12, 15, I don't recall, different marketing tools. And we also send that to your own backend so that you can directly send a push notification or an email or display a message in the UI so that the user can do something. And two things that I like about that. The first thing is when you cannot charge a credit card, such as I said, this is the easiest trick. You can get the event directly in Braze or in Firebase. We send it directly to Firebase or Braze or any other OneSignal, etc. Any other kind of tool, a push notification tool, and you can directly send a push notification, say, hey, we couldn't charge your credit card. Make sure that you update your payment needs or add some more money using an Apple or Google card, whatever. And with a deep link that is directly redirecting the user to the settings and the screen to update a credit card, because these billing issues actually, so what we call the involuntary churn, can really be lowered by 15 to 30% from our experiments using such a strategy. And this is really a 3-minute setup. And I love all these kind of acts that you can do taking your coffee in the morning that makes a big change. And the other one takes maybe an hour to set up, is the cancellation. So when a user goes to the setting, as I said, and cancels the subscription, we know it in a second. No matter the store he is in, we know it in a second, and we broadcast this information to all your marketing tools. And once again, you can start an automation and send maybe depending on the revenue. So we also send you the accumulated revenue of the user. You can choose to adopt a strategy that can be a retention strategy or maybe an activation on a cheaper plan for downgrade, etc. And this is once again something that is really nice to set up and takes really few minutes. A few minutes or an hour maybe to set up in your app, and that can once again have a huge impact on retention.
These things are so interesting to me because most of my day to day is around the we'll call it the upper funnel of user acquisition, as it were, looking at the first events or the second events that are happening, really driving that early engagement with apps, whether that be subscription or purchase or whatever it may be. And it's interesting to get exposure to the world down that funnel. You know, you're talking about just getting a user to input a credit card that's actually relevant. It seems like such low hanging fruit that it's amazing to me that not everybody's doing it. But there you go. There you are giving the advice. Really, really, really interesting.
That's an easy to do. And another upsell strategy that we are testing quite heavily right now is that if you have a user that is subscribed to a monthly plan and is really active on the premium content, on your premium content, after the third renewal cycle, we offer him a paywall for converting to an annual plan, which gives you at least 15 months of monetization with the without making any discount, because there is always a discount between monthly and yearly. And we have amazing results that we'll be sharing on our blog in the next weeks on this strategy. That is so great and easy to set up. Once again, it's a 5 to 10 minutes maybe setup. And you can find many of these hacks in our doc, in our documentation on the events. We have sent over 30 of these kind of strategies that we share with our customers.
I love it. Well, Jean-François, this has been absolutely jam-packed with actionable advice for marketers on how to implement subscriptions, how to reactivate churn, how to increase revenue on some pretty simple and effective hacks. I want to close by asking you a question that I ask all of our guests, and that's to tell us a little bit about an out-of-the-box or memorable marketing campaign that you've seen recently.
I need to think a bit on this one. It's maybe not memorable marketing campaign. It's more something that made me laugh recently. We organized a meeting with different marketers recently, and the CEO of Foodvisor. It's kind of this amazing app. You take a picture of your plate and they give you the calories. And that's kind of magic apps that I love. And he was sharing his experiences with a subscription. So his name is Charles, and he was saying like, we were releasing the app and we saw that we had a greater conversion than before I think it was in Germany or maybe in France, I don't recall. And he was wondering why we didn't change anything on this topic. So why is there a better conversion? And it was funny because the reason why is that the purchase label was too long in German compared to the previous version they had, and it was on 3 lines. They made some graphical changes, so that passed label from 2 lines to 3 lines, and actually he had like a huge something like above 15% of conversion, better conversion, because just of a typo or maybe like just a little space added or left that made the label move from 2 lines to 3 lines and 15% conversion. So it's kind of fun because we see all these kind of cases every day at Purchasely. We have a lot of small stories like that on people that are gaining like these kind of points of conversion gained just with small things. And it's funny and it's sad at the same time, because sometimes you deploy so many strategies that take such a long time to implement for lower results than just a typo and a 3-line label instead of 2. So
right. It's
maybe
a typo bumps your conversion by 15%.
Yeah, that's kind of a story that's funny and actually really sad, because sometimes you spend months doing something that doesn't change the conversion by 10%. So yeah, so that was the story of Charles that I heard last week that made me laugh.
That's great. Well, Jean-François, thank you very, very much for joining us. It's been an illuminating conversation, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Jess. I hope your audience will too, and hope to speak to you soon and bring some new hacks on how to increase revenues and subscriptions, and maybe a second episode in a year, and see how we went through that amazing journey.
Sounds great. Thank you, Jean-François.
Thank you, Jess.